Hi, welcome to University of Ontario Institute of Technology, Management Development Centre, course on coaching. We're looking today at session 6, just a brief overview of the idea of mentoring. And in this session, we'll be discussing where mentoring comes from. Where does the idea of mentoring arise from? And then we'll look at why there is such a craze for mentoring in the modern organizational practice. And then we want to answer the question, who is mentoring for? Who should be mentoring and who should be mentored? And so we'll look at those ideas, and then we'll finish off by looking at some of the core elements of mentoring, and we'll expand on these in our one-day seminar. But for now, we just want to highlight those and discuss them briefly. So where does mentoring come from? The term mentor originates in the Greek mythology. And the idea is that King Ulysses left his son Telemachus in the care of his friend Mentor, who became his teacher, advisor, guardian, and friend while Ulysses was off to war. Mentoring today emerged in the form of programs of tutoring as an active learning methodology with the aim of developing and passing on skills. And of course, that's what we know mentoring for today. It's this idea of active learning to pass on skills and develop skills within the mentee. In the 1970s, this idea of mentorship and this program of mentorship became formalized in universities and organizations as a strong way to train and to develop talent. Mentoring today is seen as a program for professional and personal support, and we'll talk some more about that as we progress. Number one, it is seen as a program for personal and professional support because it encourages the sustainable acquisition of skills. Mentoring enables the mentor to pass on skills that she or he has acquired over years of practice and implementation, but then to pass those skills on to the learner in a way that the learner can implement them sustainably in situ on the job. The transfer of expertise and knowledge. And this is where mentorship becomes exciting, because it's not just about those who are senior passing skills on to those who are emerging, but now we can implement reverse mentorship, where those who are younger but have certain skill sets that perhaps those who are more senior don't have can interchange. And so mentoring becomes a transfer of expertise and knowledge. And it doesn't just refer to skills acquired over time. Sometimes it's skills that haven't been acquired at all because of different age groups and different time periods. And then the sharing of experience and cooperation, and that is vital. Peter Senge, in his book, The Fifth Discipline, talks about the myth of learning from experience, because no two experiences can ever be the same. And we understand that in systems thinking. However, there are certain principles that we can derive from situational realities that enable us then, almost as case studies, to think through how certain principles from one situation might apply to another. And that's where mentorship becomes very powerful, because a mentor can describe and discuss how she or he addressed a certain situation that has similarities to what the mentee might be facing. And they together can derive principles of application. And so that becomes a very powerful motif. And then also the capacity to cooperate. Burden shared is often a burden halved. And so as a mentee is facing something critical, something difficult in terms of problem solving, the mentor is able to cooperate and develop cooperation with the mentee around that problem. And that becomes a very powerful mechanism for change and for problem solving. So why is there such a craze for mentoring within organizational contexts today? Well, first of all, as we've said, it provides solutions to challenges. And that is where mentees facing things that perhaps facing challenges, facing problems, facing situations that are new, what we call vous-jade situations. I've never been here before. I don't know how to address this. It's new. The mentor is able to work with them to develop solutions using principles acquired over time. It provides inclusion and diversity management. There is cross-gender mentoring, which enables the capacity for inclusion. There is intercultural mentoring, and relationship is one of the greatest tools for developing social capital within an organization, especially interculturally. And so inclusion occurs as mentorship occurs across boundaries that normally would not be breached, but relationally now are breached. And so it strengthens inclusion and diversity management. There's also intercultural and intergenerational cooperation. Normally boundaries that would be stiff because of hierarchies are now broken down as mentors work with mentees across those boundaries. And so we have intergenerational cooperation, but we also then have intercultural cooperation as people work together in a mentoring and mentee relationship. There's also a sharing of interdisciplinary knowledge. In fact, a lot of the writers on mentorship and the research around mentorship says that a good mentee or a good approach to mentorship is that a mentee would develop what we call a board of directors, a group of different mentors with different skill sets, kind of an interdisciplinary approach that can then invest in that mentee's life in different ways. And so you have this tremendous capacity for sharing of interdisciplinary knowledge through diverse mentoring opportunities. Mentoring helps individuals adapt better to constant change and builds organizational resilience. And I really like this point, and this is why mentoring is so popular. It builds organizational resilience. One of the key things around organizational resilience, as we know from servant leadership, is that it is the responsibility of the leader to think about the future of the organization. And when we're not developing talent through coaching and through mentoring, that organization is weakened. But when those who in a succession plan can pass on skill sets, can pass on organizational knowledge that's embedded, there is a sense in which the organization then develops tremendous resilience because the passing of the baton occurs in a very smooth way, and in a sense, the same mistakes are not made in new ways. And so mentoring is tremendously powerful for organizational resilience. Who is mentoring for? Business organizations need mentorship. Everyone who has any capacity within a business organization should be mentoring someone else, developing up-and-coming talent. And as I've spoken about, reverse mentorship, where those who perhaps do not have certain skill sets can leverage interdisciplinarity through those who have those skill sets. Institutions seeking innovative responses to economic demands and to the changing world of work benefit tremendously from the process of mentoring as they capacitate skill sets through the process of mentorship. Leaders need mentorship to lead better. Directors need mentorship in terms of understanding policy governance and different dimensions of directorship. And strategic players and high potentials all need mentorship to develop their capacity and to grow in strength. So what are the core elements of mentoring? This comes from Blanchard and Ortiz. There are three key elements of mentoring. Number one is essence, number two is form, and number three is mission. Essence is the capacity for two individuals to connect in a very meaningful way. And as you know, and as I know, not everybody connects. We have different interests, different values, different perspectives. And so often you'll find in terms of essence that a mentee will work well with one mentor and connect well with one mentor, but may not do so with another. And so the first thing you want to identify in a mentoring relationship is essence. Do we connect? Can we move from a superficial relationship to an authentically deepening relationship as we take risk and expose ourselves through the mentoring process? In terms of form, that's really critical as you define the mentoring relationship. First of all, frequency of meetings. And when you begin mentoring, you want to meet more regularly because you're moving from superficiality through authenticity to a much deeper relationship. And we'll talk about this in our one-day session. So you want to define how often you'll meet, knowing that a mentor has tremendous demands on her or his time. Secondarily, that you want to ensure that the frequency of meetings is enough that the mentee is getting the questions answered that they need. And thirdly, that the mentee knows the points of access and the moments when they can access the mentor's time. And then the third is mission, and that is to define what is the mission for this mentorship process. In other words, you craft out a mission statement of what you hope to accomplish over the period of time of this mentorship mentorship process. And it may be that you want to develop a new job skill, or you want to develop a network of people, or you want to grow in a certain skill set area, or you're wrestling with whether or not you want to move job functions or switch careers. Mentorship then is defined. The mission of the mentoring is defined by that circumstance. And so you set the mission of the mentorship. So form, essence, and mission are critical elements of mentoring. So Blanchard and Ortiz then use the mentor acronym to describe the process of mentoring. Number one, you define your mission clearly, and that should always be before you. You revisit it through the process of mentorship, and you can also then determine when that mission is accomplished and when the mentoring process can discontinue. You need to engage. And that means you need to have regular meetings. Mentorship becomes a priority, and there should be very little that intervenes or gets in the way of those mentoring times and those scheduled mentoring moments. And so you need to engage through regular meetings. Quality time emerges from quantity time. And so to build depth and authenticity, a mentor and a mentee need to have time together. Then the third is network. A mentor, one of the great things that a mentor does, because of her or his network and expanded connections, often a mentee is a high potential or a new hire, doesn't have that network either within the organization or externally outside of the organization. And so the mentor can connect the mentee with that network. Of course, the mentee needs to understand that it's incumbent upon her or him not to abuse that network in ways that are self-serving, but that facilitate and fit the mentorship role. And that's where mentors can then often also become sponsors. Not all sponsors are mentors, and not all mentors are sponsors, but mentors can sponsor mentees and help their careers grow and develop as they watch and develop them and see the potential in that mentee and get behind that mentee, or not. Trust. The next element is to build trust. Trust comes through risk. The higher the risk, the higher the trust. And so trust is built over time and through risk-taking as mentor and mentee expose themselves to one another authentically. And there is a need to define upfront the issue of confidentiality, that it's articulated both from the mentee and the mentor, and that confidentiality and trust is held really strongly throughout the mentoring relationship and beyond it. And then opportunity, that in mentorship we show that there's opportunity for growth and that the mentor provides that opportunity for growth. And then finally R, review. Review and renewal. There needs to be a regular time to review the progress of the mentorship process, and then also to either determine to renew that mentorship process or to discontinue it because the mission of the mentoring has been accomplished and the mentee is now moving on to new vistas. One of the powerful things as I close off this session that I want to highlight for you is that mentors gain a great deal from the mentorship process, both in terms of inadvertent learning from the mentee as they have these exchanges, but also then in terms of understanding that they're passing on the baton, they're developing organizational resilience, and they're making a difference in the life of high potential employees. So, mentoring, fantastic, phenomenal. Start tomorrow. Thank you.